Hey guys, how's it going? Jason here again. If it's your first time to my channel, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. We're working on the Scimitar again, and what I want to do this time is I want to make a start on the hydraulic suspension. I have done a few bits and pieces to this here so far. I have the spring box assembled. This is two different spring boxes combined, and then I have this ram with the eyelets welded on for the bushings, but we still need to do another one for the rear. And I've ordered two new rams for the front because the rams I have at the minute are 20mm, and I've been made aware that you'll need 25mm for the front. So I ordered two. Still haven't arrived yet, but hopefully they will arrive in time. I also got all my hoses set up now, measured the lengths, and the two fronts are the same length, two rears are the same length, and then we have a backup of each, and we have the pump one for the one that goes from the pump to the spring box, or the solenoid block even. But yeah, this is the spring box here. Looks quite nice. Battery's gonna live here, pump's gonna live here, and then I'm gonna make a box section frame that goes from the back of the car to the front. And yeah, let's just get started in this. So I'm going to begin this upload with making the rear box section frame that's going to basically enclose this entire rear piece. And I do have some box section over here. I went to the place where I usually get box section from, and they didn't have any, so my mate had loads of this stuff here. It's not pretty, but it's going to do our job. It's going to be inside the boot under a sheet of like wood or metal. I don't know what I'm going to do, probably wood. So I know it's all pitted and rusty, but that'll be grand. We'll put some stone chip or something on top of it. We'll maybe not use this one, but that's what we're going to be using. Don't judge me. Maybe someday we'll replace it, but I think it'll be grand. It's going to be underneath here, so we're going to be flying. Let's get this all stripped out and start making our deck. Now this board pulled out, the fabric appears to be duct taped on. I don't know how well the cuts are, not very well. But this is the first time looking under here, and I apparently have a couple of 3 bits of wood. Again, some firewood. We can now see our sender for the fuel tank. We have a free spanner, a free 14mm socket, some Allen key bits, and whatever that is. And oh, sorry, no. 11mm socket as well, and a 15mm socket. Some trim piece off somewhere, and in here some random bolt. That must be the cable for the heated window, is it? But that was someone made that go up there. I don't know. Nope, it's not. Start his screwdriver a bit. Yeah, just some random screws and stuff knocking about in there. Hanging this one. Oh, a wee bit of rust in this one. I don't know what's meant to be in there. Okay, we'll have to investigate in there. But for now, it's fine. I'm going to get this all pulled out, and we can start our framework. So what I'm making here doesn't have to be overly engineered. I'm just going to weld these 2 bars to this bar, and we're going to bolt these to the boot floor. That's there's going to be the overhang, and then we're going to make a wee leg that comes down and sits on the transmission tunnel, and that'll pretty much do exactly what we need to do. I'm going to get this welded up now. We'll get these squared up first, but this is pretty much the design. So there we go. I did say this didn't have to be overly engineered, and I wasn't wrong. This is basically going to be bolted down to the boot floor here. Probably 2 or 3 bolts on each side. And then I'm going to put a stay in the middle and maybe one at each end, I'm not sure. It's actually resting on this trim at the minute, which is handy as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Once you get the bolt holes drilled and get this bolted down, we might even put some bits of flat underneath it as well to try and add a bit less stress onto the fiberglass body. And these here are the threaded rods that hold the fuel tank in. I'm actually surprised someone's went out and put big penny washers on instead of just putting wee washers. So I think I'll put a couple of straps along these as well, just to help hold that. The hole that someone's cut for this sender unit isn't really that tasty, so I might tidy that up as well. But also there's like 2 wires here. I imagine one's going to go to the ground there, maybe, and then the other one's just going to go on there, because that's kind of where they're kind of looped around to. I don't know if that's going to work or not. We'll have to find out. And yeah, let's get the spring box on, see what it looks like. So the spring box is going to sit right in the middle there. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, because the pipework will be right behind you here. That'll be all bolted down obviously, but I think it looks cool there. Once we've got this all cladded in and everything, it should be pretty tasty. I just put that bit of wood back in just to see what it looked like, and it looks pretty much like I had it before, only the spring box is a bit further forward. I think when I get my solenoids and all on, I'm probably going to make a wee box that goes around the front of it, just to tidy it up a wee bit. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. So let's start on bolting it down. I'm going to leave the spring box on it for now, just to add a bit of weight to it, and then we'll just line it up at the front and both sides before we start drilling holes, and she should be mint. Okay, well, I lined it up here, and the same on this side. So that's pretty much where we're going to be bolting it down. So let's start drilling the holes. So I already came up with one hurdle in my original design. So my plan was to go through this and the bottom one, and then put an Allen head in. That means I can get an Allen key down in there, and I wasn't trying to curse the box section, and I also wouldn't have a bolt sticking up for when I put my wood on. But so I went into the fiberglass then, and there's a bar that goes right across there, and if you look at it from this side, you can see it there, and you can see it there. So you can see it there, and you can see it there. So the bolt hole is directly in the center of that. I could probably get a nut there, but it's not going to be very strong. So my plan now is I'm going to weld the brackets on and then bolt down just slightly over a bit. Pretty inconvenient to say the least, but it'll work. So I really need to order some angles. So this is just bits of box section cut up into wee L shapes, but that's pretty much the idea. So we'll get those welded on and get this bolted down. I had the mounts welded on now to hold this framework, and the original plan was to put one here, and then one here to kind of like spread it about a wee bit. But here is the chassis, so I've had to put them 2 on this side and 2 on this side. So it's on there, and then I put a stay at the front as well. The bottom of that box section is capped as well, so it's not like the edges of the box section is pressing down against the fiberglass. It's like a full square, and it's pretty on there, and I'm happy enough with that there. Probably just going to paint this in situ, and I'm going to take it out. I know the underside of this won't get painted, but it'll be grand. On to the rams then. So I showed you the back one and I showed you the prototype for the front one, but this is the actual 25mm ram that I bought, and I have each eyelet welded onto the ends of these now, and that's pretty much where it's going to be at full extension. And I'll put the wheel on just to show you. Okay, well this is where it would sit at full extension, and we're not going to run it there obviously, but that means that the ram will probably be, I tried to push it up there with my leg but I couldn't get it up. So with the ram at full extension, that's the height. So when we push it back up where we want to run it, which it'll probably be like halfway to this travel, or maybe 2/3, so that gives us a lot of travel room. It means we're not put as much pressure into the ram, so hopefully it won't be as stiff either. I'm not really 100% sure how it works, but yeah. Another thing is my hoses. At the minute I can get that hose on, but there's probably like with the credit card in between the back of this ball joint block here and the hose. So I'm going to take the bonded seal out and then Loctite that in, and that should bring us back another 2mm, and that should give us enough clearance, because it's only at full extensions. It's not that height, because when you push it up, it obviously clears it away. See? So that's where we're going to be sitting there, and it's not actually touching it. So, well, it's not touching it there either, but it's very close to touching it. So if I took that seal out, we should be able to get a bit better movement as well. Well, not movement, but I mean clearance. Another thing I'm going to do is, so these rams have, well, this is the other ram, and you can see there's a hole here, but what I've done is welded my eyelet on each side of this here. One thing we're going to have to do is, if we ever have to change the ceiling here, we're going to have to cut this off and weld it back on again, but I'm not too concerned about that. But these holes, I'm going to put a rod in through these here and just weld them up as well, because I feel like that would be a weak spot, especially on this side, because I welded onto here. I've only got this bit, so if I have a rod welded in there, it should put a bit more strength into it. I say it probably won't be an issue, but I just want to make sure. They're very wee dinky wee rod like, but I'm pretty sure it's going to work for what we want to do. So I'm going to make this one now, and then we can start running hoses, I think. Maybe I have to do one more in the rear as well. I have all these rams made up now, and this is them here. You can see I've got these burstings welded on the end, or bursting sleeves, sorry, welded on the end. Then I've got the burstings in them. The burstings I'm using are pretty much the top wishbone burstings of a Scimitar. I bought an extra 2 sets. Basically, there's a split bushing that goes on this arm here, but I was trying to figure out a way to get a bushing into this here, so that was my go-to. It's a split bushing, I know, and I had to trim this much off the end of each of them, but hopefully it'll be okay. If it does start to wear out quickly or plays up, knocks, we'll figure something else out, but for now it's a bushing in there anyway. So I'm going to put these here into the last 2 rams for the rear, and then get these put in, and then we can start plumbing. I've got the 2 rams and the hoses in on the driver's side, but I'm on the passenger side now, and this is the rear. And there's a wee hole here, so I made this a bit bigger with a die grinder, back to good metal, and we'll put a wee patch over that. But this here, I made this bigger here, it was kind of cracked, but there's actually, someone's filled it full of like chemical metal or something like that there, so now I have to die grind that out to try and make a patch for here. And of course this became a lot bigger job than it was meant to be. So pretty much the bolt that holds, I've cut this off now, and the bolt that holds this to this to this is seized inside that collar, and I could spend ages trying to get it out, but I'm just going to cut this off, remake this bit, and weld a new collar in. We'll put a new bolt in it, fix this here, and job will be a good one. So I'll do a wee mock-up of how everything's going to work, and I'll be back with you. So this is my plan. It's a bit more involved than I thought it was going to be, but I pretty much replaced this section here with a bit of box section. I haven't welded anything on yet. Again, there's a sleeve welded in the inside a lot there, and then I've replaced the bit that I was actually trying to replace is here. So all in, that's going to be pretty strong. Gonna get it all welded in now. And now this is all welded together, and I'm pretty happy with it. And then I made that hole there a wee bit bigger and plated it. And I pretty much think we're done with the welding at the back here. Well, I think anyway, I don't know. But for what I know of now, it's done. So we'll try and get the shock in, and we can move on to the one at the front. And I have all 4 of these rams in. I'll show you the fronts. So this is the front, basically pretty simple setup. Ram, and then the hose just goes round, tucks around there, and then at the minute I've just got it sitting. For the minute the hoses are just sitting here. We will P-clip these to probably put them onto these bars here, just for ease of ever having to replace them. And this goes up here, and then it goes into a hole here, and then the same on this side. For modification wise, I haven't really modified anything on the chassis. These pretty much just bolt in the exact same way as the original shocks would. So all I've done really is drilled 4 holes in the boot here, where this, well, not even in the boot, it's in the underneath the rear, where the rear seats would be. So modification wise, we haven't really changed anything apart from drilling 4 holes, and obviously replacing the shocks with rams. So I had a flick through all the electric boxes I have, and nothing was going to be really suitable, and they were all either too big or too small. But I have this, I'm not really sure what this is for. I think it might be like an outside electrical box type thing, but this will work for what we want to do. And what I have is, I've got 6 relays here. There's going to be one for each ram and solenoid, so we can go up and down, and then there's another 2 here, so we can control 2 at once. So we can have a remote to do the front and then have a remote to do the back. And then we'll have independent switches on a cable as well, just to mess about and see if we can put each corner up and down, everything, see if we can make it 3-wheel. That'll probably be not used very often. I'll probably just have it on a cable, and I'm going to tuck it underneath the seat. Then we'll have a override button, so you'll have to press the button to make the connection for them all to actually do anything, because I don't like the idea of it sitting there and maybe me braking and hitting the button and it going down. So yeah, I also do like the idea of anybody be able to touch it and it going down, so you have to like have a manual override button on it before you can do it, which I think is a more acceptable way to go around it. Sorry, I've got a bit of a cold at the minute. I didn't have it yesterday. I had a wee bit yesterday, but today it's feeling, it's hit hard. So yes, we'll have all 4 rams in, all our hoses are on. I do need to peak lift them up obviously, but I'm going to start doing a bit of wiring here, and I've kind of figured it out in my head. I was trying to explain it. It's going to be a bit harder. So I'll just give you a rough idea. So it's going to be quite hard to explain this here, but this is my wiring schematic. I'm not very good at drawing them out, but I've kind of figured it out in my head. So imagine this is your driver's side rear, right? You're going to have one contact to go to your motor solenoid, one contact for the solenoid on the pump, and then you need one contact for the solenoid for that ram. So we'll have this on a common port on the relay, and to go up you'll have, this will be all be lives here, and then to go up you'll activate this solenoid, this relay, and it'll basically make connection from this normally open contact, which is all lives, to the common port. And then to go down we'll have, on a normally closed contact, we'll have a live coming here and a button, and then that means you can come back down again. I think this is how it works. We'll have to figure it out. I've never seen how it works before, but in my head this is going to work. So I'm going to do some wiring, see what I can figure out, and then I'll show you how we get on. Right, I think I have this worked out, but bear with me. So these are my 4 relays, so there's one for each corner. I haven't actually done the other 2 relays for the remote yet, but we're just gonna get it working first on each corner, and then we'll worry about that afterwards. So as I say, you got a relay for each corner, and this is the wiring here. It's kind of hard to understand if you just look at this here, but so the normally closed contact is your down, and it only activates the solenoid for the pump and the solenoid that's on that ram. Whereas when you put power to the relay, it turns the motor, the solenoid, and the ram on to bring it up. That's as easy as I can explain it. It just looks messy because there's so much going on here. As I say, these are all common, and these are all common, so they're just positives, but you had to link them through to get the positive up to the other side, so that's why it looks so intense. And then these 4 are your down, and these 4 are your up. This is the main feed in for your power, positive, and this is your neutral. And then these 2 are the feed out to the out to the motor solenoid, and the solenoid is on the pump. And then the rest of these here are just live feeds to the solenoids, and then there's a neutral there as well. So pretty much that is the wiring in a nutshell. I'm now gonna focus my attention on the switches. So I have 4 momentary switches, directional, and I'm gonna put them into this cool old school box because I don't have any electrical box that will suit at the minute. So I'm gonna like kind of stagger them, maybe put like out one there, one there, one there, one there, and then these will be your up for your front, and these will be up and down for your rear. And then I'm gonna put a switch in somewhere. I might find a more period correct switch, and that means I can turn it off, and then that thing's dead until you turn it on. Whew. I don't know how long this took me. It took me a couple of hours to do this here, but hopefully it works, and we'll give it a test soon, hopefully. On the motor side of the thing, this is a spur motor here. It came with, I don't know why it came with a spur one. The one on it may be dead, I don't know, but we'll figure that out. And that's it. I'm gonna wire this switch box up now, get us some sort of controls, and then we can give it a wee bench test. Well, I knew I was going to have some teething issues with this here, so bear with me. Right, we have our solenoids all wired in now, our relays are all wired in, our switch box is all wired in, we have everything connected. Put this isolator closed. The fella I got this all off, he said that one of the motors wasn't working, but then I tested the motor from like here to here and it worked fine and it's pumping oil, so I figured it was okay. But the problem with this actually is the solenoid. The solenoid doesn't do anything. Right, that aside, I have all the wires sorted, and so if I press this one should light up. Yep. So that is your passenger front, driver's front, passenger's rear, driver's rear. That all works. My isolator switch works, so I can close that off and I can sit about, and if it gets hit, it's fine. My main issue is when you go down, it activates everything no matter what button you push. And the reason for that there is it's getting a back feed from where I've wired in this one. It's basically looped everywhere. So even though that's looped like that, once this gets alive, it puts a feed up here, and then it back feeds it all back. So we need some diodes in this line here, or this line over here. I'm not really sure what side yet. But once we get the diodes in, that means power can flow one way, but it can't flow the other way. So it's basically like a non-return for electricity. But they haven't arrived yet, and my solenoid hasn't arrived yet. They should be here tomorrow, hopefully. But that aside, I'm confident enough that this is all going to work. That's all. All the solenoids work. I know they work. They all work on the ups. They're going to work on the down once I get the diodes in. Pretty devastating that I have to modify this again. The first problem I had was once I tested this pump, I initially thought that you open the solenoid to let the flow come out of here, but apparently as soon as you put power in here, it just flies oil out. So I had to bypass the solenoid from that circuit, so pretty much just took a loop out here. That wasn't a problem. We got that sorted. But once I get this all working, I still need to put another 2 relays in for it to work independently per axle, which will be fun. But that shouldn't be a big problem either, because all the wiring's already done. It's just a case of bridging to actually over here, and then I'll have a remote. I've got a 4-channel remote control for 2 for up and 2 for down. But yes, it works as far as works goes for now. I'm now gonna go and I'm gonna start putting stuff in the car. I'm gonna bolt this down in this box first of all. It shouldn't be a big job. I've already drilled all the holes, just to recess it down in there a wee bit. I have wrapped all my cable in this nice black stuff, so that makes it look nice and tasty, and then put a heat shrink on it to make it look even better. This one here, it joins in with this live neutral, a big heavy live neutral going to the pump, because you need a big feed to the pump. And then I was just testing, I was getting live up there, and I am getting live to this solenoid. It's just this solenoid doesn't work. I could take it apart and find out why it doesn't work. Let's do it. Well, this is sort of my fault. I sort of assumed that the whole body of this will be negative, but it's not. So it has its own separate negative port, devil terminal. So I'm gonna put this all together now, bring it out, and see if we can get something to go up at least. Right, well, I'm not really 100% sure where that last clip ended. We were away there for a few days, and I swapped everything off the camera onto the computer. So I'm just gonna catch up where I think I left off. I don't think I remember showing you it working. I've currently got it jacked up in the air at the minute, so I can't even show you it working, but it does work. I will go over it again later in this video, but for now I have the rear window out, and I'm just gonna start patching, well, not patching as such, but I mean putting the floor in here. So pretty much I'm gonna use the original piece that he had in here, or whoever put it in here, that went from there to just where the seat started. That means only I have to finish off the end. So it's sitting over there. I'm gonna get that put in, and then I'm gonna see if I can find some wood that matches it.
And I have this in here now, but looking at this horrendous cut around here, what I've done here is we've used this bit of stock here, and I've just went like this all the way around, and we now have the template we want to cut. So I'm going to cut that out now and get a nice tight fit. Okay, we're not all perfect. I messed up over here, so I've now came up with a design. You put the socket down and do this, and look at that, you get a nice tight line, and I've just got enough there, I think, to sort out my mess. Okay, well, I sort of know what happened on this side now. Pretty much this felt, when you start cutting it, it starts falling off, and when you think you're following the line, you're not actually following the line. So it's happened here again a wee bit. But this bit of wood actually is pretty gross. I don't know what's going on here, so I might have to change it after all. But let's just use it as a mock-up for now and get some wood for the rest of it. Okay, well, this isn't much to look at, but we have some planks in here now. I'm gonna now take this all out, lay it in the ground, and try and draw around it and get some sort of shape for the carpet. And then we'll basically rough cut the carpet, and then we'll cut properly the length once it's in there. A little bit of progress here then. I do have a bit of carpet cut for the boot here, and you can see sort of how it's going to work. Actually looks quite nice. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and tuck the edges around the spring box before I bolt the spring box in. I think that'll be a nice touch. Getting all these bits here and all is going to be quite hard, but we'll make it work. So now I'm actually going to take the spring box out now, because I want to well, first of all, I want to panel the front here. So there's nothing here at the minute, it's just a blank space, so I want to put a panel across there. I also have made, I'm in the driver's seat now, and I'm going to show you the start of the switch gear I've made for the dash here, and I've actually made it into this ashtray because it fitted in there nicely already, and I didn't have to make a panel. I did scratch it too, which isn't very nice, but we'll touch that in with something. So if you push these, like I said, they don't do anything until you push this button, because I have horrible feelings of like you're sitting here and you accidentally hit your finger off it. I can either put the car up, or even worse, put the car down. So override button I think is necessary in this case. So this is going to be a combined front and combined rear, and pretty much this is going to completely override that other panel I made, and the other panel's only going to be used for messing about really. So that'll be off most of the time, and this here switch panel's going to do all the work. It is so warm today, like I'm actually in a vest, a cut down t-shirt and shorts, and I'm still sweating, but the sun's just coming through this light here and absolutely magnifying me. But anyway, we have this bit of carpet cut. I'm not saying this is going to be the final bit of carpet we're going to use, but I wanted to get something in there as a template for when we do make our final one. I do have plenty more of this carpet, so because there's I wish I had it made this down here, but I was had so much excess carpet to get rid of that it was kind of hard to judge where I was meant to be cutting. But I say this will be a good template for the next one. But pretty much this is how it's going to look. So right now I'm going to make a metal plate that bolts on here, or screws on, sorry, and it's going to have the switches on it that I need, and it'll have the cable coming out for what will be the remote control. So I have a split charge relay to go in as well. This is it here. This basically charges the hydro battery when the engine's running, and that'll be a nice touch. I'm going to put an isolator in as well in case my battery in the thing goes dead, and I can use the hydro battery to start this thing, because I can imagine that we're going to have some issues sometimes. I did get a whiteboard for Father's Day, so we have a load of Scimitar jobs on it. I'll give you a wee look at the whiteboard for the to-do list here. So this is a carb install upload I'm working on. Still need to do the rocker gaskets and a manual choke on it. Hydro install, all these jobs need done. Power steering pump, you haven't seen that yet. Miscellaneous jobs and some wiring in the dash that I know of right now. But I'm sure there's going to be plenty more. Right, I'm going to start making this panel and see how I get on. I haven't really recorded much of my progress today because I was just basically doing wiring. I'll show you that in a second, and I've made a couple of wee braces for these pipes because I didn't like how they were flapping about, so I welded a wee bracket on here, just tied them so they're a bit more rigid now than they were. Just didn't want them cracking or anything, so that should be good. And then onto the wiring side of things then. I'll show you where I'm at. I have this panel made, so when this is in, this here is activated, but when this is out, it basically joins the two fronts and the two rears together, and that means we can use either this, so you press this button, you go down or up, and then I've also got a remote control relay box here on top, so I don't know how that's going to work yet. Hopefully it'll be okay. So inside this box 10 there's a lot more wires added. I have had to put some diodes in to stop backfeeds and such, and then same as when I'm doing this remote box, the remote box only has one output per relay and you only need two. So I've been coming down here, one wire split it into two, but one of the wires has a diode in it so it can feed but it can't backfeed as such. So hopefully that'll work. I haven't tested it yet. And then I've took all my wires out I had in and brought them through this panel here. So this is going to bolt on here on top of the carpet. So you have your mess about switch here for playing outside the car. This one here goes to the front, and this one here is the one for your solenoids. I think it's going to work quite well. And then when I was trying to bolt my pump down, apparently the chassis is right underneath that there, so I couldn't really put nuts on it. So I've had to adapt and overcome. So I have this two studs in the arse of this pump, and it's going into the chassis, but they're just into blind holes. There's no threads in them. So it's now being held down with this rubber mount, and I haven't tightened the bolts yet, but I think it'll be okay. I hope it'll be okay. And to make it tighter, we can put like wee spacers or shims underneath this here. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. It's kind of taken quite a long time to get to here because, well, there's no real guideline to follow when you're doing this. There probably is actually, but when you're making up as you go along, it kind of takes time. So gotta hopefully put the spring box back in again here now, and then we can start final plumbing things, I think. I'm gonna put the spring box in, drill the 4 holes to hold the spring box down, and then I'll work from there. I now have all these bits back in again, and the spring box, I've actually got it bolted down now. I welded some studs. Actually what I did was I drilled on top of this box section, put a stud in, and then tack welded the stud in, so it's not coming out of there. I've now made this plate, so when you push it in, this works. When you pull it out, this works. This is your override button. You push this red button and then you go up and down. The remote section on this I was having issues with, but the problem was I was getting backfeeds, so I only put one diode in. Well, let's explain this here. Let's see if I can write it down. Right, trying to explain this is going to be quite hard because I'm not really too good at explaining electronics. I can work them, but I can't explain them too well. But on my remote control, I have A, B, C, and D. These are relays, and they've basically got a separate feed for each one, but I need to feed these to 2 separate things, I guess here. So this would be your A is your motor solenoid, and your solenoid for your RAM. So I'll just write RAM. And then B will be your RAM, but then RAM, and then this one will be for your down solenoid, right? So this is your up and this is your down. But what I had done is I put a diode in here and a diode in, no, not the RAM, I put a diode in here and a diode in here, and that was working fine. But because the RAM cable wires are connected, when I went this here I was getting a back feed up, so I have to put a diode in here and here. So I now have a bit of wire goes with the wire I got there, with a diode here, and this goes to your separate feeds. So now hopefully I shouldn't be getting any back feeds, and my remote control will work. And these are these wires I've made up here. So here's my wires. This will be the power feed down. One of these will go to the RAM, which is this one here, they're combined for your up and down, and then this one will go to your motor solenoid, and this one will go to your down solenoid. So pretty much these are just to make the remote work. And I'm probably going to use the remote control most of the time. When you're walking up it, you hit the 2 fronts up and the 2 rears up, and then away you go. And then when you're done, you just slam it down. Right, let's get this in, see if it works. I might even put the car on the ground so you can see it going up and down. Now this is all wired up now, and the remote actually works. So we have the front up, rear up, and we're mint. We can go right up if we want, but obviously we're not going to drive it to get there. So we'll back it back down again, and just get it set up. We're going to be driving it. I'd say probably there and probably there, right? And the springs in the springs box aren't overly compressed, which I'm pretty happy with. I was kind of worried they were going to be crushed flat, but I'm pretty sure that's acceptable. You can see them moving when I put my weight on the back, and yeah, that's pretty cool. But my battery in here, I think I've drained it by playing with it too much. You can see this panel here is going to go on there, and yeah, that's awesome. Right, when you push this switch, put that back in there. This is now turned on, and this means we can play with each corner independently. And with the there's a relief valve on the axle pump, and you can basically make it go down faster and up faster. So I think it's more down faster actually, but pretty much we can play with all corners independently here. And when you hit this here switch here, it turns it off. But also when this button's out like this is turned off, so this can sit in the back and I don't have to worry about anything hitting it even with this off. We're good. And then we have another controller here in the dash, and this one here doesn't do anything until you press this button. That means if you're in here and you accidentally hit that button, nothing's gonna happen. We do need to make a wee flap here to hold this down, but I just want to put it in to see what it looks like. But that's pretty much the hydro install done for the most part. I do need to put the split charge in still, and well, here you go. Brace the pipes. So yes, I did this. Made a couple wee brackets just to hold these here, so they're a wee bit flimsy, so they're definitely more rigid. I haven't actually bolted this down, but these here are a lot more rigid now, and same on the other side. So we can where's my whiteboard wiper? Well, apparently lost the whiteboard wiper already, but we'll take that, brace the pipes off. I haven't bolted the pump down, but we can take that off anyway. Remote switch is done. Switch gear in the dash is done. Haven't done a split charge. I haven't finished that off. But yeah, that's pretty much it. For this time, I say took a wee bit figuring out. I'll show you the electric box here. So I feel like there might be a bit too much going on here, and it might be kind of hard to troubleshoot later down the line, but it works and it's pretty cool. There's a lot going on there, but it's going to be okay, I think. So we'll get that bolted down and put it back in there again. Slip back in for now. So that's going to live in there next to the battery. Pump's going to live on that side. Spring box is in the middle. I did take that bracket off the back of the spring box last night. I don't know if I should paint this or not. Probably not. Probably just going to leave it ratty like the rest of the car, and we'll just rock it the way it is. So yeah guys, if you've made it this way through, thanks for watching. It's been pretty intense doing this here. I don't know what I've recorded so far ahead now that I'm kind of lost, but yeah, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you again in the next one, where I'm hoping we're going to get this thing on the road soon.